Hello, and welcome to this training on building a holistic lifestyle around healing. Quick little intro. Who am I to be giving you this training? My name is Carly. I am a mental wellness coach, yoga teacher, lover of life and all things healing. And I have actually healed my own mind from anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder without using any medication. I know that sounds pretty far out there, but I am over 8 years episode free and I don't use any pharmaceuticals. What I have done instead is built an entire lifestyle around my healing journey and really found what works for me. So I look forward to connecting with you further if my work resonates with you. And definitely stick around until the end because I've got an exciting free program that I'm offering to you just for being here today. So, what does holistic actually mean, and why is it important to build a holistic lifestyle around healing? I feel that holistic has become a little bit of a buzzword in the past few years, and that's okay. Buzzwords just mean that more people are building awareness about certain things, and more people are probably learning what holistic means. When we think about the word holistic, it's looking at all of you, the whole person, the whole lifestyle and ecosystem that revolves around this person, around yourself. Healing does not happen in isolation. If we have a problem with our hand, realistically, that's going to affect the way that we move our elbow. That's going to affect the way that we move our shoulder, and so on. Our entire bodies, minds, our entire selves are so interconnected. And healing our minds, healing our guts, healing our physical bodies, these are all very interrelated with healing our relationships, with healing our diet, with healing the way that we move about in the world, our relationship to our career, our relationship to our children, our relationship to our community groups. None of these exist in isolation of each other. So today is going to be quite a broad overview of the interconnectedness of the different pieces of our lives. And the training that I am offering to you is about diving deeper into what I call my 7 pillars of mental health, which are the things that I prioritize every single day to make sure that I am happy, healthy, high functioning, even with my diagnoses, without any medication. So, looking at our bodies is a very easy way to begin. Our bodies and minds are so deeply interconnected, and to the point that we know double-blind studies have shown on multiple different occasions that exercise is as effective as, and if not more effective than, antidepressant medication for enhancing well-being. If that is not the clearest sign that we need to be moving our bodies every day, then I don't know what is. We think about exercise because of the way that it targets our physical body, but actually the influence it has on our mind is so much more profound. Now, sticking with the examples of our body and influences on our mind, we have an entire nervous system in our gut. This is called the enteric nervous system. This is actually the place where the majority of our serotonin and dopamine, these neurotransmitters that we need in order to feel joy, bliss, contentment, these really peaceful feelings that we're all searching for in our lives, these actually begin in our gut. When we have a dysregulated digestive tract, we often also have a dysregulated mind. And the thing is, it goes the same both ways. This is not a one-directional highway. This is going both ways, gut sending feedback to the mind, mind sending feedback to the gut. A lot of the times, anxiety can lead to inflammation in our digestive tract that leads to maybe it's IBS, maybe it's a bit of bloating, maybe it's just discomfort. And often that will lead us to wanting to be a little more still because moving gets painful. And this is where we start to see these intersections of various aspects of our life weaving together. when I started to realize how important this work is back when I was in university and just deeply discovering my mental health journey, just received my diagnoses and kind of realized, okay, I want to figure this out in a natural way. I don't want to rely on medication for the rest of my life. And I certainly don't want to continue on the roller coaster of life that I had been on for the first 19 years that I was alive. So I started to look at how do I actually feel and what happens differently in my mental state if I am exercising versus if I'm not. If I am eating foods that I know are nourishing for me versus if I'm eating pizza. How do I feel when my sleep levels are, when I'm having more sleep, when I'm having less sleep, when am I feeling tired in the day? How is that impacting my mood? And I started to notice how these things fit together. Now, you can probably relate to staying up late, not feeling like you have enough sleep, needing to wake up the next morning anyways, feeling tired and groggy, and ending up eating some junk food because you can't be bothered cooking a nice meal. And then because you've had that junk food, you're even more tired and groggy, and now you don't feel like exercising. And when we have predispositions to mental health, going through those spirals can really lead to detrimental effects. And for me, those simple spirals of a couple days not sleeping, eating, exercising in the right way would lead to the beginning of falling into a depressive episode. And I found it was so much harder to get out of that space than it was to just stay out of it and maintain my healthy practices. So I know this is a very broad overview, and I've only really spoken so far about sleep, exercise, and nutrition. But my intention today is for you to start recognizing all of the areas in your life that feel out of alignment with what you know is most aligned for you and what you know is actually good for you. So start to stock take. After you hang out with someone in your relationships, whether it's a friend, a partner, doesn't matter what that looks like, a colleague, notice if you feel energized and content and excited and supported. Notice if you feel a bit drained and like confused or anxious, or there's emotions coming up that feel turbulent. This is a sign that you are receiving about this relationship. Does it mean that person needs to be cut out of your life? Not necessarily. Does it mean this relationship needs some mending? Yes, absolutely. When it comes to building a holistic lifestyle around healing, I can tell you the things that work for me, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to work perfectly for you. And I encourage you to give the training a try. Try the 7 Pillars of Mental Health 7-day challenge. That is what I'm offering for you today. And notice how these things influence your life. But this lesson does go beyond the 7 pillars that I use and uphold, because everyone's healing journey is so different and so unique, and yours will be too. The biggest lesson you need to take away from today is that everything in your life is completely interconnected, from the way you show up to yourself, to the way you interact with your children and how you make space and time for them, to the way that you carry yourself through the workday, to your relationship with your partner. All of these things are so vastly interconnected that when we start to work on one area, it ripples out into every other area. And how we treat ourselves, how we integrate our self-care practices needs to be priority number one. So start tuning in. I'm sure that you're not here because you're already feeling like you're thriving in your life. Start to make very subtle changes. Notice what you eat for dinner and how that influences your mood the next day. Notice how you feel right before and right after doing some exercise, going for a walk in nature, doing the things that you already know are good for you. To start diving into this journey, we need to stock take. What is actually helping me feel good? Maybe it's music. What is actually leading me down the path of comfort and maybe not leading to long-term benefits. We want to be prioritizing what's going to be good for us in the long term, and then start making those a priority in the moment. So we're constantly thinking about our future selves and what's going to be good for that person, for tomorrow, for next week. Just as we do with our children, we need to be prioritizing that for ourselves too. So again, I recognize this is a much higher level, broad overview of holistic wellness, but I find it is really important to start at this macro lens before we dive into the micro, because the micro looks so different for every single person. So start to tune into what's feeling good for you, what's not feeling good, actually noticing those differences. And then from there, we can start to take actionable steps to make that change. Self-love is going to come in as the biggest piece of this. On my journey, learning to truly love myself unconditionally and truly want what's best for me tomorrow, to love tomorrow's version of Carly and want what's best for her, is where I found the motivation to truly do the work today that's going to influence me tomorrow. This is about delaying gratification. It's not leaning into what is the most comfortable thing I can do right now, which most of the time will probably be eating some comfort food and watching a show on Netflix and vegging out on the couch. That feels easy. That feels comfortable. Let's just do that. Let's numb the pain. Let's switch off the distractions. But guess what? That's not going to help you tomorrow. What's going to be better? Spending the time to be present with your food in the kitchen, eating something nourishing with your family, having conversations and connecting, going for a walk after dinner, getting out into nature, listening to the birds, getting the sunlight in your eyes. This is stuff you already know, and I know that, but how much are you actually doing, and how aware are you of how these things are actually influencing your mental and physical health? Those are the questions that I need you to ask yourself. This is how we start to recognize the influence of a holistic lifestyle and how all of these things influence each other, and how all of these things benefit you as an individual, you as a family, you as a community, and us as the world. When we heal ourselves, that truly ripples out into every other piece of our lives, into every other human that we interact with, and into the planet. So this was a very quick little snapshot into what does it mean to build a holistic lifestyle around healing. I do not want to overwhelm you, and this is intentionally short and sweet because I have an entire 4-month program on the 8 simple steps to naturally heal your mind that goes much deeper into taking the steps to develop that self-love, into bringing in these routines and clearing out the old gunk and noticing what actually needs to shift in your specific life to bring in healing. And these are the exact regimes that I followed to heal my mind too. So take advantage of this 7 pillars of mental wellness training, where you'll learn a little bit more about how certain things are influencing your life. You'll learn a little bit more about how to actually really stock take and then bring in positive change. And you'll start to feel those differences in just a week's time when you really pay attention and get deep with your mind and with your body. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I hope that this has been valuable. I hope that you really take away the importance of noticing the interconnectivities in your life. Nothing exists in isolation, including your wonderful self. And I will see you in the 7 pillars training.